What's up, guys? Connor O'Hanlon here for another episode of the Greater Society podcast. And today we are going to be diving into two very specific issues, but diving deep into the meanings of them, the implications of them longer term, and throwing in some history while we're at it. And on top of that, as we have been going through the last couple of weeks, really the last couple of months, with the investigation in the January 6th trial. We have a local celebrity, we can call her, that we will be talking about, and what has been going on there and the repercussions of it from, I believe, last night that I became aware of today. So that'll be a little bit of an interesting local twist that we have today. On top of that, I have a little bit of a push that I want to start off today with, which I kind of wasn't sure if I want to do it first, maybe last, but just so that I can put some context around what I'm talking about here. If you guys don't know, and this may not mean anything, some people don't know who I'm talking about here, and we will get to that. But being online as I am, being 26, maybe some of those folks that are younger know who this guy is, and if you don't know who it is, no biggie. The person I'm talking about right here in the beginning, and I think it's important because we have a chance to spread our message, get somebody on, me, to a show that is a larger platform to push back against conservative viewpoints. And that is Dave Rubin. So if any of you that have been, online, hyper online, I should say, basically since the 2015, 2016 political era, this is a guy that used to be on the Young Turks, which is a progressive YouTube channel. And he has progressively gotten, no pun intended, has progressively gotten worse. And while it's easy to see in hindsight, a lot of people didn't pick up on this. I mean, a lot of us did, but a lot of people didn't pick up on this. And he has accumulated a pretty large, and I would argue, right-wing audience that doesn't really engage with real progressive values, doesn't really engage and hear from true, democratic representatives. Just they only deal with the straw men, and they only deal with these, fake personas that they hold up and say, here's a Democrat, here's this person that loves Joe Biden, and he's this giant sycophant of Democratic Party values. So, what the hell am I talking about? Well, Dave Rubin here, and I think you should be able to see that, and if not, I can try to zoom in here. Dave Rubin here is trying to get somebody to come on, and I will read it for those who are just listening. Quote, "I'd love to have an avid Biden supporter on the show. Someone who truly believes Joe Biden is mentally fit and healthy, that his policies on economy, COVID, immigration, etc. are sound, and that he's moving America in the right direction." I will point out that I responded to him before he made the second tweet, but it's important to read the second tweet. By the way, I don't mean this to be glib. I don't mean this to be glib about this. That's him saying, not me reading it wrong. I thought I was reading it wrong, but I was reading it right. He says, despite 81 million votes, I don't think he has anyone willing to defend any of the above, except for people who work in the administration and the media swamp people. But I am genuinely open if we can find someone. To this, I wrote, in response to @Rubin Report, I'd love to discuss how the infrastructure package, student loan forgiveness, Inflation Reduction Act, PACT Act, and the American Rescue Plan have been good. I'm not the sycophant you're looking for, but I'm a progressive Dem from Pennsylvania. Let me know, Dave. Now, let's come back to me. Dave Rubin, I highly doubt will respond to what I wrote or what I have here. Not that 85 likes is the ton, which I'm getting them as I am talking here, which is pretty cool. But it's the second highest responded to. The other person that was suggested that he talked to was Destiny or Stephen Bonnell, which, of course, is a online political debater, which maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't. Again, I don't know. Some people have a certain level of online knowledge of who these people are. But my request here up front is because Dave has not responded to this. I have a lot of responses to people saying, oh, how could a CPA think that this stuff is good? How could a CPA think blah, 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 blah? Because, of course, my Twitter handle has that I'm a CPA in it. And that's kind of the whole point in putting it there. I am asking you, my viewers, hopefully maybe a few fans, to go on Twitter at Con O'Hanlon, go find that tweet, like it, share it, respond to it, quote tweet it, tweet at Dave Rubin, tag me in it, because look, Dave Rubin, and I'll take a look for a second. He has 1.3 million Twitter followers. His YouTube channel has, I think, over 1 million subscribers, or close to it. He's genuinely asking, and I should say, he's asking, and I'm providing a genuine response to provide a progressive Democrat's viewpoint, someone that lives in a swing county. I'm trying to provide an answer to what he's asking. So I might not be Destiny, or I might not be someone that's bigger than Dave that can provide him a large audience to engage with. But if he's genuine and looking for someone that is organizing and somebody that is on the ground and doing the work, he need look no further, because I will gladly go on the show to try and talk to him and his audience about progressive values. And maybe we come to some sort of consensus on some things, which I think is possible. Maybe not me and Dave, but maybe me and the audience, which is the whole crux of why you should be doing this online interactions with people. It's not always to change the mind of the person you're arguing with, but to change the perception and maybe move the needle with the audience that might be engaging and listening to it. So it would really mean a lot if you could do that for me. Again, you at CONOHANLON on Twitter. Find that tweet, like it, share it, do all you can. Let's get Conor O'Hanlon on the Rubin Report. But let's dive into the real story of today and the last couple of days, and that is this guy, Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is the senator from Louisiana, I think. I could be totally wrong with that. That is something I should definitely know. I think that is true, though. Let me see that, actually. Lindsey Graham, U.S. Senator. He is from South Carolina. South Carolina. My mistake. What's up? See you guys in chat. Getting it going. Yes, we're booing these guys because Lindsey Graham is proposing a national abortion ban. Now, before anyone jumps down my throat and says, actually, Connor, that's not a full abortion ban. It's just a 15-week abortion ban. In practicality, in reality, if you want to talk about the world that we are living in the United States, a 15-week abortion ban mandated by the federal government, if this was to be passed, is a functional, all-out abortion ban. Yes, and Lauren, I realized that I had a big brain fart. Didn't remember that he was from South Carolina. But Lindsey Graham, the guy is, and look, I'm saying this as a single dude. The guy is not married. He does not have kids. He has never had this sort of relationship where he has been around women that may have to make these choices. He doesn't care. So the functional 15-week abortion ban is being proposed nationally, not just in South Carolina, not just in Alabama, not just in Texas, but a federal ban. With the exceptions, of course, only for the life of the mother, which is, of course, subjective, to be determined by doctors, which then are held personally and criminally liable to the standard of what this bill proposes, which we will come back to that in a second. The exceptions of rape and incest are irrelevant, because if you are telling a doctor or you are trying to get an abortion because you need one because you were raped, how are you supposed to prove in the court of law that you have been raped within that time period? If you have to try and prove this in a court of law, or even in the court of common, in the court of public opinion, which doesn't count for anything really, but if that was the case, you still would have a hard time doing it in that amount of time. Because most women that get pregnant don't know that they're pregnant right off the bat, especially if it's unintended. And then they have to find the resources, which now are dwindling. They have to find the resources to healthcare providers, which now are dwindling in numbers. There's healthcare providers that are leaving the industry. There are nurses that are leaving the industry. There are nurses that are underpaid, underprivileged, and going on strike, by the way. All of this is to say that this guy, Lindsey Graham, does not get it. He does not care about the forced birth that he is going to be, and frankly, the forced birth and possibly the the outcome, which would lead to the death of thousands of women across the country over a period of time. It's not going to happen immediately, but we have seen just since the Dobbs decision that dozens and dozens of cases where women have had to go to the hospital because of stillborn babies being left inside of them because they can't be properly taken care of. You have miscarriages that are not being taken seriously. You have people that have actual life-threatening illnesses from this stuff that are not given what the services and the health care that they need. You see Planned Parenthood having to step up this big game while all these other providers are just leaving certain places. There are states where there are 1 or 0 abortion providers in the state. And this is the logical conclusion of where we talk about abortion bans leading to. Because remember, the original point of the Dobbs case is to say that these decisions around the issue of abortion and around the protections around your bodily autonomy, which are going to be under threat under multiple other issues, whether it be contraception or the right to marry who you love, these rights, according to the Republicans and the conservatives on the Supreme Court, should be solely left to the machinations of your state, not the United States government. However, when they get their win, when that box is checked, they get rid of the federal protections for abortion. Now they're going to jump to federally banning abortion because the principles of federalism, which we will also discuss here in a second, have been disregarded and utilized and wielded to whittle down the federal government's power to make progress in order to regress us to the 1940s style of misogyny that these people want, the 1950s style misogyny. And before that, obviously, we're talking about these people want to control other people's bodies. So a 15-week abortion ban might not seem like, oh, this is a whole thing of, yeah, this is not a full-out abortion ban. And it's also important to note, I read an article this morning just to make sure too, there are a few European nations that are utilized as a counter narrative to this being a big issue, where I believe it is France, Germany, have 15-week abortion bans. And let me tell you this, they're not the same. When you look at the comparison of American society to the European model in this scenario, the Republican Party is so far right that the conservative parties in these other countries look like the Democratic Party. And in fact, some of them are to the left of the Democratic Party. The 15-week abortion bans within those nations have much more exceptions than this proposal would. The 15-week proposal, or the 15-week laws there, allow for the woman to decide whether there is mental, physical, socioeconomic impact that would cause them to have just cause to have an abortion post 15 weeks. This bill is up to the physician. And here, I'll get rid of this ugly mug off the screen here for a second. Just leave this ugly mug there. And when you talk about the issue of the physician having to decide, and we've talked about this a little bit, but if you're a physician, let's just take someone in chat, right? If you, listen to this right now, are a physician in a hospital that receives federal or state funding, which most of them do, are you going to risk your license, your funding, to provide abortions for a potentially questionable whether the life of the mother is in danger? Because how do you determine this? Let's use video game analogy. People don't have health bars over their heads. People aren't losing damage and you can see it from them. Sometimes you can have internal bleeding and you wouldn't know that without going to the doctor and having these procedures done. If you have to, jump to the extreme of saying, the life of the mother has to be in danger, but it's only up to the physician, and if the physician is potentially interpreted to be wrong, they could be criminally and civilly punished. For those who don't know the difference, civil court would mean fines. They would be able to sue for personal damages, versus criminal, which technically could also be fines, but would also possibly bring on jail or prison time. The interpretation of these laws, which is frankly, this is what's happening across the country now in states that don't have more liberal abortion laws. Pennsylvania being one that has more of the liberal abortion laws because we have Governor Tom Wolf. Now, again, I will bring this up as much as I possibly can. Vote for Josh Shapiro and vote for John Fetterman, because these are the two politicians that will make a difference in the long term. The governor of Pennsylvania is the stalwart holding women's reproductive rights up against a radical right wing in this state. So just so we know, again, you're a doctor and you make a potentially interpretive wrong, again, this is very subjective, wrong decision in certain states, and again, because we don't know how this federal law would have been implemented, in certain states, you could go to prison as the doctor. Now, these people want to say, we don't want to throw women in jail. We don't want to throw the mother in jail. But mark it down right now. It's only a matter of time before that starts happening. Or actually, I've already heard stories of it happening to certain people in certain states. Now, those are anecdotes. Those are one-offs. what can we make of those? Well, as time goes on in these states like Texas and Florida and all these other places that are moving further and further right wing, you will see the number of these incidents going up. We can get real data from them. But if we just sit and let this happen, we're really just living in a dystopia. I mean, it's apropos that on the side, I think someone mentioned it in chat, on the side of that CNN ad is a Handmaid's Tale, like an advertisement. I'll show you again. Right here we have literally a Handmaid's Tale, which I'm not advertising for Hulu, but I can't get all these ads off these freaking articles. But we have that on there, which is super, super apropos of what we're living through right now. And before I go into the electoral implications of this, let me just talk about federalism, because federalism is a bit of a pet project for me, something that really does matter to me. Quick story time for anybody that is not aware of, past shows or past writings or whatever. The first book that I ever chose to read for fun, post high school, was Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and oh my god, I'm drawing a blank on the last one. John, it's not doesn't really matter. It's the Federalist Papers. And I should really remember all three of them. But Alexander Hamilton being the one that wrote like 80% of all the Federalist Papers, right? Federalist Papers were an argument in favor of, at the time, a radical notion. The formation of a federal government in the United States. A loose federal government that held up the rights of all the individuals underneath them. This federal government at that time was quite literally, because remember the time period we're talking about, revolutionary. Democracy, representative republics at that time were revolutionary. And you have Hamilton, you have Madison writing about this. And they are advocating for a stronger unity of the states. It's funny, I was reading for school, for a school project, I had to read a part of Rahm Emanuel's book, and he was talking about I'm not a fan of Rahm Emanuel's, but he was talking about the trade between major cities, and how this was like a new thing where it's not between countries, but between two major cities in different countries. But let's rewind this idea of federalism, where before 1781, let's just say, there was no law that said each state cannot have tariffs against each other. States that have that trade between each other, between New York and New Jersey, cannot have tariffs against each other, hurting one economy in favor of the other. But once we formed this union, it got rid of that. It said, okay, we're a country, not a state. We're a formation, a United States, but we are not individual states where it's just the Wild West didn't exist at that point, but you understand what I'm saying. When you look at this and you apply it to today's world, and you are saying, okay, federalism can work where you have some decisions that are left to the state, some decisions that are left to the local municipal governments, and some that have to be federally mandated. You could argue that, okay, maybe the original reasoning for federalism, meaning that diversification between the states and the federal government, was that the states would provide incubators for new ideas, for better potentially ideas, and test them out. So you say, we want to try Medicare for all. We're going to try Medicare for all in California. And if California works, maybe we extrapolate it and bring it to the entire country. Now, we know that doesn't exactly work nowadays. The federal government doesn't exactly love to take progressive values and extrapolate them to the rest of the world, or the rest of the country, I'm sorry. But the Republican Party most certainly does, because the Republican Party is using it to dismantle the federal government, to dismantle governorships, to dismantle state governments and all this stuff, and strip it down to the lowest level, because the administrative state is their enemy. The administrative state is the one that will put up roadblocks to, say, oil and gas companies and say, you need to have this amount of clean energy systems. You need to stop polluting. You need to do this, that, the other thing. The government's the one that says car manufacturers have to have their emissions at this level. The list goes on and on. Your water has to be X amount clean. You can't have any of this lead in it, etc. Right? So their goal is to disrupt and dismantle it on a federal level. They use, let's just say, Wisconsin, because if you don't know what happened to Wisconsin, go look that up, read about that. Scott Walker in Wisconsin was used to dismantle the administrative state in Wisconsin, and now it is being extrapolated to the federal government, which again also could be rewinded before Scott Walker to George Bush, and then take one more step to Ronald Reagan. The administrative state has been at public enemy number one since Ronald Reagan. You can even include Richard Nixon in that. And because of this, abortion rights are one of the things that have been caught in the sights of these right-wingers. They don't believe that you should have a federal right to an abortion. They don't even believe that you have the federal right to privacy. They think that is made up concept. Now, I've had this argument before, and it's interesting to see, but remember that when something is based on precedent set by the Supreme Court, that does create a federal right to something. If you have, like currently, we have a federal right for gay marriage to exist. Just because it's not written as you have the right to get gay married. I mean, like, I don't know how explicit you could put it, but that's not going to be in the Constitution written like that. But the interpretation of federal common law is how that's applied. You create rights through that precedent. They undermine this. They don't care about this. They kick it down to the states when it's convenient to them, but they bring it back up to the federal government even when it's more convenient to them. So the concept of a federalism has been bastardized by these far-right judges, these far-right senators and congresspeople and governors, because you take someone like DeSantis is trying to centralize government in his hands. He's trying to strip it down from the federal government, down to Florida, and say, hey, this is what we want to do in Florida, because, of course, he's trying to run for president. It's all about control, it's all about domination, and it's baked in misogyny. The one thing, and I saw it in chat, was, will this backfire? This is very unpopular. This has to be unpopular. Will this backfire on the Republicans? And that is my theory. My theory, and again, it's not like I am living in a vacuum and I haven't discussed this or heard this from anybody, but my theory is that it will backfire because the constant let's just ask ourselves, and you could throw it in chat before I maybe answer the question myself, because it's a bit of a rhetorical question I'm asking, but why in September of 2022, before one of the biggest midterm elections in our lifetimes, would the senator from South Carolina, see, I remember this time, propose a federal ban on abortion? Why would they do that? It is because this ban, and this is my opinion, this ban was supposed to be the compromise. This ban was supposed to be the one that they could get Joe Manchin to support, or they could get a few Democrats to be like, you know what? Okay, 15 weeks is not that bad. Because, of course, remember, the original precedent set forth by Roe versus Wade, and actually it's really Casey versus Planned Parenthood that set the 24-week precedent. It was 24 weeks. I mean, I kind of just messed that up, but it was 24 weeks was the precedent. That was the cutoff. And then there were exceptions to that, of course. So if you shave that down to 24 to 15, but really the Republicans don't want any abortion to be available, they want to control and have forced births, then, and of course, that's not even true for most Republican voters. Let's remember that. Most Republican voters don't believe that. Most Republican voters actually support abortion in some cases. There's a lot of Republicans that support it in the same cases that Democrats do. The overwhelming majority of voters actually supports abortion rights. So remember that. But this, in theory, was supposed to be the olive branch. This was supposed to be the, hey guys, we might not agree on the total outcome, but we can at least agree to this. And Lindsey Graham didn't read the room. Because luckily for us, and I think this is important, is because a 15-week federal abortion ban is way more restrictive than a lot of states, especially blue states, have. That creates the, why are you, like, you are amplifying the people that, and I'm okay with this because it's not going to pass, right? But he is amplifying and projecting out to this thing, to all the voters, saying, hey, this is what, when we get the Senate, this is what we're going to do. And frankly, if they get the Senate, it's going to be a lot worse than 15 weeks ban. It's going to be earlier than that. But he's projecting and saying, hey, we're going to do this. And it's going to fire up people in New York, New Jersey, California, all these places that are just going to boost up Democratic turnout. But what's more important is in those purple states. In the purple states like Pennsylvania and Virginia, and I mean, you can run down the list. I don't think Maine is technically, I don't even know if there's an election there. In Arizona, though, you have Ohio, Georgia. These are the states where you're going to see increased Democratic turnout because of a frankly stupid decision by a Republican senator to focus on the issue that is turning out women and is turning out Democrats. It is clear what they're trying to do. Now, I point that out. I think that Democrats should run on this issue. I mean, I was analyzing you may start to see a lot of Democratic political ads and frankly Republican political ads as well. But if you're a Democrat, you will probably see more of the Democratic ones. And take note, I am not a media strategist by any means. I know how to message, I know how to talk about things, but if I was campaigning right now, which I'm not, but if I was campaigning, let's just use local candidate Ashley Ehasz, who I'm a fan of. I've had on the show and I talked about her all the time. Her message is right. Her message is amplifying that she is pro-choice, her opponent is anti-choice. However you want to frame it, however you want to talk about it, however you get that message out, that is the message. Look at the Democrats that are running in your area. Look at the Democrats that are running for state house, state senate, Congress, and senator if you don't live in Pennsylvania and it's not John Fetterman. That is the issue. That is a winning issue. They should be leaning into it, my opinion. Because now, let's take a look at this. Okay, now we have the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, being asked, hey, what do you think of this bill? What do you think of Lindsey Graham coming out with this bill and just, making it potentially harder for you to win, take the Senate back? What do you think about this? So let's take a listen here, and I'm going to mute myself.
Lindsey Graham has this 15-week abortion ban. If you take the Senate, will you put this on the floor of the Senate for a vote, or will you commit to leaving this issue entirely to the states?
Well, with regard to his bill, you'll have to ask him about it. In terms of scheduling, I think most of the members of my conference prefer that this be dealt with at the state level.
So that's a lie, but it's interesting, right? It's interesting to see that he knows, Mitch McConnell knows, that members of his caucus are in trouble if we talk about this issue, because Mitch McConnell and his caucus are pro-forced birth. They are anti-choice. They don't care, or maybe some of them do care, but they will only care when it personally affects them, about the health care of women, about the reproductive rights of women. They don't care. They are more used to and likely to pander to their base than care about these ridiculous abortion bans. They don't care. So as much as Mitch McConnell's saying, yeah, I'm going to leave that to the states. No, he's not. No, he's not. He might leave it to the states for now because he's not in charge of anything. He is just the minority leader. So let's go fast forward here, or change directions. And we're going to take a brief talk about union organizing and more specifically strikes that are happening. And one strike in particular, and you can see it from right here. I have a personal connection to some of the, railroad stuff. My dad is a transit engineer, so I have a, kind of intimate relationship with that end of things. I have close friends that do that stuff. And I want to specifically just talk about the implications of what a strike could do. So there's different unions that work within the railroad industry. I think there's like 15 federal ones that are pretty big. I think a lot of them fall under like the Teamsters umbrella. And in this, you see that different jobs have different interests, right? So what do I mean by that? Let's use the railroad as an example. The railroad has people that, for a lack of a better word, drive the train, the engineers. They have people that work in the back of the train that helps the engineer, collects tickets, make sure everything goes smooth. There's probably other responsibilities, and that's the conductor, that's the guy that walks up and down. You see him. He's usually in the back. Those are two jobs. A third one would be the person at the desk, the administrative person. A fourth one would be the person that operates the stop, go, lights, all that stuff that directs the traffic, for, again, a lack of the proper term. A fifth person would be someone that lays down the tracks, which we don't talk about that much anymore, but they still do that. And that list goes on and on and on. So there's a lot of different unions and workers intertwined here. Federally, we're talking about freight trains more than we were talking about passenger trains. This is more of a federal issue right now than it is a specific passenger state issue. But some passenger trains will be implicated in this. But on Friday, the different railroad worker unions have authorized have tentatively, because I guess technically until Friday they can't do it, but have tentatively authorized a strike. There's a 30-day cooling off period basically to go on strike. And within that, we will see a major change and potential disruption to the supply chain of the United States. I am not saying that in necessarily like a yippee way, because that's not good, right? But that is the power of withholding your labor. If you are willing to put that livelihood basically on the line, to withhold your labor in solidarity together, you all will benefit. We all will benefit. 115,000 workers are implicated in this. That extrapolates from, that's 115,000 roughly families that will be implicated by this directly when it comes to income. That's 115,000 individuals that will then be amplified to the nth degree in each of their communities. What are they asking for? Better pay? That's usually a baseline for all union negotiations, but my understanding after looking into this a little bit earlier today is that a lot of it is not around pay specifically alone, although that is of course a part of it, but more so about safety and worker conditions and benefit plans where it's like retirement. Let's dig in on that benefits, that worker protections and safety. So you know how I described the engineer and the conductor? They work together on every train. There are proposals by railroad industries, companies, I should say, which get very nice sweetheart deals, by the way, to, operate, have different tax benefits, etc. Just keep that in mind. I think that public transportation is good, by the way. So, like, this is where you have to, like, there's the push and the pull with all of this stuff. But making sure that workers get paid and they get to live with dignity is of the utmost important to me personally. So you take those two. There are proposals to only have the one engineer on the train, aka no conductor. The conductor would be, I guess, become a functional engineer. I don't know how this would possibly operate properly, but that is a proposal. Why does this matter? Well, if you've ever ridden on a train before, there are potentially a lot of people on a train. So if there's one worker in the front, how do you deal with the overwhelming number of people? How do you deal with if there's an issue, or if you get, let's just say the person passes out, has a heart attack, he gets sick. That's why you have more than one person, right? They also do two different jobs, let's remember, but that's why you have two different people. It is safer for the people on the train and for the workers for there to be multiple people on the train. Let's take an example. For those who are from the Philadelphia or the greater Philadelphia area, remember a couple of years ago there was a Amtrak, I believe, or it's SEPTA, I don't remember, but the train that derailed. And that is because the engineer fell asleep on the job. Now, why did the engineer fall asleep on the job? There are different questions of whether that specific engineer had sleep apnea or etc., right? So you could just, that is one theory. But transit engineers and transit workers work extensive hours. So not that every single day is 12, 13, 14 hours, but there are certain days that are that long. And that is part of the union negotiations. So in tandem, you have the company that wants to get rid of one of the workers on the trains and keep workers working extended hours, which will also amplify the unsafe working conditions for the workers and will amplify unsafe riding conditions for passengers. So when we talk about union implications, solidarity, holding together, supporting striking workers, that helps us. That helps us because we actually get to amplify and help working class people. We get to amplify and help working people on the working people that literally drive the trains and get people to work, get people to their leisure, get people to recreation, get people to sporting events, etc. But it also protects you and me. When we ride the train, we ride on the bus, we go on public transportation, we should feel as though the person that is working, that is driving, is safe, is healthy as much as can possibly be, and is well trained and well rested for the job. Because that creates public safety and public trust in public transportation. So that is all of that combined. There also is the issue of the freight train, though. So we talk about the passenger train and the freight train. So now we need to, this is where that's the supply chain of this country is heavily reliant upon air and train. So if you have freight trains that are carrying, HVAC systems or parts of airplanes or doing whatever, right? This is vital because you need those trains to bring this stuff. It's bringing waste from nuclear power plants, or it's bringing, all these things. These things need to be transported in a timely manner. So pressure where pressure is due, and support and solidarity where that is called for as well, which is to the workers as always. Remember what we talked about last week? Being working class, unity, and solidarity are the best things that we could possibly do for one another. Supporting one another is key. I see in chat we have former guest Malcolm Kenyatta is appearing on MSNBC right now, so don't check it out right now. Go watch a rerun. But that is awesome to see. Malcolm is the man. And yes, we have a comment saying there's a blatant war on women forced to suffer and die when solutions exist because a small number of strange, creepy people with power said no abortions. Yeah, yes, we do need to get me on MSNBC, but you spelt it wrong. But I might be able to get on MSNCB, but I don't know. And remember, guys, I'm just going to remind you guys while we're doing this on the show, because I did it in the beginning, but for anybody that's joining late, remember to go like and share this tweet in response to Dave Rubin so I can get on the Rubin Report and discuss these issues here just selfishly. I could use that little boost of ego. But while we're here, we'll switch over to my main story, and I don't know what this picture is. The Bucks County Courier-Times and the Intelligencer have these weird pictures. Like that's not her. So I don't know why that's there. But let's get, and yes, we will get the Discord going. Let's jump over to Bucks County. This is a local story. It was breaking today, so I wanted to just cover it briefly in closing here. And this person right here is named Dawn Bancroft. Dawn was a former CrossFit gym owner here in Doylestown, technically in Plumstead, but in Doylestown. And as you can see, she is an avid Trump supporter. And earlier this year, she was elected to be a Doylestown Republican committee person. Before that, though, rewind from May, which was where the primary was. Keep that in mind. May. She was elected in May. In January, let's remember, what was that date? Oh, right. January 6th. Where was Dawn Bancroft? Oh, she was in the Capitol building. Dawn Bancroft, a former local business owner, stormed the Capitol building. And she said, and I quote, right here, you can see it, folks. "We broke into the Capitol. We got inside. We did our part. We were looking for Nancy to shoot her in the friggin' brain, but we didn't find her." This is said on video. This is not speculation. This was said on video. Dawn was then sentenced to jail time. Now, I bring up this article because, of course, I'm quoted in it. So, or I was in the, let's see if this link actually works. Yeah. So here's the actual, here's the quote that I gave to this article. And let's see if I can get to one of my quotes. So here's her talking about it. I didn't pull this up early enough, but let's see. So I'm reading from the Courier Times right now. This is the original calling for, so me and Steve Sanacero, who is the state senator from Pennsylvania's 10th senatorial district, who is up for re-election this year, by the way, and I'm going to close out these freaking ads. And he is also the chair of the Bucks County Democratic Committee, newly elected. We both are quoted calling for her resignation, and if she won't resign, her removal from the committee person position. So I'm quoted here saying, "O'Hanlon said that Bancroft's victory in May was frustrating given that news of her arrest was widespread and common knowledge for local Republicans and Democrats. Quote, I think it's incumbent upon their party leadership to step up and denounce these actions and frankly call for Bancroft's resignation from that position. But they didn't call for anything before the primary. We all know what she did." So, what came of this is interesting. Because remember that date. What was that date? January 6th. She stormed the Capitol. What was the date of the primary? In May. So, between those months, we all knew that, and let's also rewind that. She was elected in May of 2022. Not 2021. Not January 6, 2021. She was elected in 2022. So a year and 5 months after she stormed the Capitol building. After she had been, indicted. So there's other quotes in here. Of course, Andy Meehan is, Andy, buddy. Andy Meehan ran against Brian Fitzpatrick in the Republican Party. He primaried him back in 2020. Hey, Andy, I don't know if you watch this show. You probably don't. But you're more than welcome to come on and we can talk about some stuff. I would love to talk about your primary run against Brian Fitzpatrick and your right-wing political outfits. Definitely would be interesting. But I'm also quoted here in saying, my concern about Bancroft's committee position and lack of response from the county GOP leaders bodes a shift farther to the right for the local Republican Party. Now, of course, there's a lot of ads. Now we jump to today, or yesterday probably. And the Bucks County Republican Committee, which is the equivalent of the Democratic Committee, in the county, voted to remove Doylestown resident Dawn Bancroft as an elected committee member. Now, also, I'm going to get off this page because it's pissing me off with the ads, frankly. Remember that she is not from, I don't want to throw any, I love all my progressive people out in the west part of Pennsylvania. My friends at out in Allegheny, Erie, but she's not from one of these like far out like Alabama type places, parts of Pennsylvania, which do exist. Let's be honest. She's from Doylestown Borough. She lives up the street from me. Like, I could probably walk to her house. I don't know where it is, but I'm saying, like, that's how close this is. And, yeah, she's been removed by the committee now. It was only an issue because now, guess where she is? She's sitting in a jail cell. So, if there was any other outcome of what happened, the GOP would have been fine with it. Like, good on you. You removed an insurrectionist from your ranks, but you still have many more that would have been there or that were there, aka Jim Worthington, who owns the Newtown Athletic Club in over in Newtown, who brought buses of people to January 6th. Look that up. Bucks County, unfortunately, might as well be, Pennsylvania when it comes to this, because we had the most amount of people there out of any county. So it is nice, and I'm putting that loosely, to see that someone is finally being held to account. It is, upsetting that it took so long. It is upsetting that she ever had a chance. And it tells you where we're at. And I'll say this now. Republicans, for whoever's left out there, if we ever want to get back to the point of having reasonable, civil, and again, this hasn't existed in my lifetime, but bear with me. If we ever want to have reasonable, civil, legitimate conversation, if we want to have a two-party system, which again, that's the most functional government that we've had, but if we devolve into something else, then, or evolve, whatever you want to put it, so be it. But if we want to have two functioning parties that believe in democracy, that believe in the rule of law like you claim you do, but you don't, you want to wrap yourself in the flag while burning it down. If you are a Republican, you need to take your party back. You need to be... Look, the way that I see it, the Democratic Party needs to be the New Deal Democratic Party, but make it more intersectional and more interwoven with realities of 21st century. The Republican Party, you guys should be like the centrists. You guys should find the way to move that party back, because these are the people that are gaining power in your party. People like Dawn Bancroft, but maybe ones that didn't get caught at the Capitol. Maybe ones that are just like Andy Meehan, that kind of just skirt under the radar. Get enough publicity that when I talk to reporters, they know who he is. That is all you really need to know about it, is that they're gaining power. And if you claim to be a Republican and you want to be like even look, again, I have my qualms with the entire ideology almost. But if that's your party, like that's my granddad's party, then go and fix it. Because I'm tired of the Democrats bowing to centrists. And again, centrists might even be generous. Right-wing centrists. The Democratic Party is the party of the working class, the party of the marginalized, the party of the unheard. That is what we're supposed to be. These folks label us as the party of the elite, and nothing should be further from the truth, unless we keep letting like the Bill Crystals come into the party. We keep letting the Lincoln Project be our messengers. No, like, Lincoln Party, go fix the Republican Party. That's what you should be doing. Locally, I don't know what to do about this other than beating them. Now, she wasn't running for an actual elected office, that's Democrat or Republican or independent. She was running for a party position. However, in 2022, we have insurrectionist Doug Mastriano running against Attorney General Josh Shapiro for governor. In 2023, we will have an inordinate amount of election deniers and insurrectionist type folks, the far right, neo-fascists, whatever you want to call them, that will run for your school board, that will run for your township supervisor board, that will run for your mayor, that will run for election official in your town. So my question to you is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do to push back and stop the inevitable fall, or hopefully not inevitable fall, but the inevitable continuation down this road if we allow them to gain power? I refuse to accept it. There's days where I question, is this even possible? But even in that doubt, I know that I can't stop, because if I stop and we stop, we're ceding the ground to people that don't believe in democracy. We're ceding the ground to people that don't believe in objective reality. They would rather make things up to help their feelings, because they're definitely not snowflakes, than deal with the reality of losing. Because the Republican Party, I'll remind you, is a minoritarian party. The Republican Party does not have the majority of anything, basically anything, in the public opinion today. But through the systems that exist right now, they hold on to power. So, I'll ask you again, what are you going to do to stop that? Are you going to donate? Are you going to volunteer? Are you going to spread the message? Are you going to run for office? These are questions you should ask yourself if you're engaging and watching this show. Because you can do it. At any of those things, your level of engagement can make a difference. My first election, I lost by 38 votes. You can do it. I promise you. So if you're interested in running for office or anything like that, hey, make sure to let me know. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. My throat is really bothering me today, so I'm shocked that I made it an hour. But I'm glad. I got all my New Deal posters that I'm going to be putting up soon, so keep an eye out for that. I have to get some frames. With all of that, though, during the last week, we did create, I created a Discord server for the show. So if you don't know what Discord is, it's basically an app on your computer or on your phone where we can get together, discuss politics in a positive and constructive way. You can send show critiques, you can send show guest ideas, or you can just talk about an issue that matters to you. We also have channels for local organizing for what you're doing. So if you want to join and promote what you are doing, whether that be, oh, I'm hosting a show, or I'm organizing a specific event, or I'm a candidate and I want to talk about this, this is the place for you. So you can join the Discord. The link is in the description box of this video on YouTube. And if you can't find it, if you're watching this somewhere else, you can reach out to me directly and I will get you that link. So that is an open invitation for you. We need to get a certain level of boosts to get the custom URL link, which we're probably not going to get right away, but at some point we will probably have a custom URL link. So join the Discord server. That will be a good way to get connected with other like-minded individuals and just discuss these things in a welcoming and safe environment. The other promotions, of course, are to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube, and hit the bell button to get notifications when we go live. Hit the thumbs up button. That thumbs up button on the screen actually helps us grow in the algorithm. So even if you watch, just one segment of the show, hit the thumbs up. If you see a clip, hit the thumbs up on that video, because it helps us grow over time. And that's really, if you're watching this show and you enjoy it, that should be the goal, is to get this message amplified to more people, because we will get better as we get more community input as well. If you enjoy engaging with us directly, you can follow us on social media at Greater Society Media on Instagram and on Facebook and on TikTok. And then you can follow me again on Twitter at Con O'Hanlon. Remember to go like and share that tweet. Get us on the Rubin Report so we can talk to some right-wingers. I think that would be actually a beneficial conversation for us to do that. The last thing is, if you are so inclined, you can support the show on patreon.com / Greater Society Media for as little as $5 a month. This helps us provide for some improvements to the show, paying for editing, producing, etc. And I guess not last thing, because if you want to listen to the audio version of the show, you can do so wherever you get your podcasts, specifically on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. With all that being said, thank you so much for listening and dealing with my coarse voice. I am looking forward to hearing what you guys all have to say and seeing you in the Discord server. So please go on over there and join it. With all that being said, stay safe until next week. I'll see you then. Peace.